for us, when we design this product, it's not about the hardware or the technology. It's about the daily life experience for the kid. So start from waking up in the morning, toothbrushing, eating breakfast. You need to eat more broccoli, right? And then some game time or maybe toy time during the afternoon. And finally, the bedtime routines. So we designed this product for that daily experience.
The startup investment landscape is changing, and world-class companies are being built outside of Silicon Valley. We find them, talk with them, and discuss the upside of investing in them. Welcome to Upside.
Hello, and welcome to the Upside Podcast, the first podcast finding upside outside of Silicon Valley. I'm Eric Hornung, and I'm accompanied by my co-host, Mr. Lamborghini Chair himself, Jay Klaus. Jay, how's it going, man?
Well, if you've ever sat in a $30,000 massage chair,
I have,
made in partnership with Lamborghini, you know how I'm doing, and it is great.
So we were at CES. We are at CES. Maybe tell the people a little bit about that.
We are at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. We're recording this from the Blue Microphones podcast suite here at CES. And this is a mecca of technology. Some of the technology legit, some of the technology put together by duct tape, and it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. Hard to tell. I can tell you that the Lamborghini massage chair that I sat in by BodyFriend, it's actually a BodyFriend massage chair made in partnership with Lamborghini. They had a couple of different models on display, one of which is kind of the general public model that I was given a number of $8,000. And then there was another room off to the side that was only available to the media.
Are we media?
We are media.
Wow, look at that.
We are media, Upside on the come up here as broadcast media partners with CES. And so because of this amazing badge with the yellow stripe, we are able to go in the back room of BodyFriend and enjoy a $30,000 massage chair massage.
What was a $30,000 massage chair massage like? What made it so good?
I will say it was amazing. Was it $30,000 amazing? I don't know. I mean, that thing's got to be durable. I got to have it in my house. I got to do it all the time. But it's honestly the best part for me was the feet. Wraps the feet, wrapped my Achilles tendons. Did you feel it in your tendons?
See, I like the shoulder the best.
You like the shoulder?
So it kind of pinned back your shoulders. Because a lot of things the one thing I don't like about massage chairs is when you get a lot of pressure in your back, you have to get pushed forward.
Yeah, it's
so
hard to avoid.
you lose a lot of the pressure. But when you get the shoulders pinned down and then you get the pressure in the back, oh yeah, money.
Yeah, that is the hard part about massage chairs. I never know if I should just ragdoll and relax or if I push back against the lower back pressure. I struggle with that. But it was great. As somebody who has low stress, as told by this massage chair, it has sensors. It tells you if you have high physiological stress or mental stress or whatever. I have low stress. Eric arguably has high stress.
So the guy who was working the massage chair room, it reads through an ECG your fingers and gives you a readout based on your muscle tension and your fingers and all this technology, what your stress levels are. And he goes, don't worry about it. I've done thousands of these. I've only seen 3 people ever with high stress. And mine comes back and it says normal stress. That's the readout. And he looks at the bar of how high up the normal goes and he goes, oh, that should be high stress. And I was like, but it says normal. We're staying with normal. I'm not stressed out. Okay.
Leaving that chair, did you feel less stressed?
Leaving the chair, I did feel less stressed. I felt comfy. I felt cozy. And I think that kind of leads into what we're talking about today.
We are. Talk about cozy. What is more cozy than being a child?
What is more cozy than falling into a 4-foot Snorlax looking thing?
Yes, that's going to go on the Twitter. That's going to go in the show notes. Eric hugging a Snorlax-sized Woobo. Woobo is our guest today, and we're speaking with the co-founder and CEO of Woobo, Feng Tan. Feng was a research assistant at MIT previous to founding Woobo, and he studied multi-agent synchronization, nonlinear control, machine learning, and robotics, which is a perfect lead-in into Woobo, which was founded with one goal in mind, to bring children's imaginary friends to life. Woobo is a plush toy with a nice touchscreen that gives the toy personality and is meant to be a companion for these children ages 3 to 9, 3 to 8 actually. It reminds me a lot of a Furby.
And I don't know that I want to bring that up to him because Furby has such a bad connotation with it.
Did you have a Furby?
We had like 3 of them, and they just sat in our back room and chirped all night, all the time. Hi, I'm Furby. Chirp, chirp, chirp. Oh my God, the worst thing in the world.
Furbies were the gift to have Christmas of 1990 something.
Yeah, that's true. If you didn't give your kids a Furby, you were a terrible parent.
Yeah. And I didn't get a Furby. I don't know if I even asked for a Furby, to be honest.
Did your sister ask for a Furby?
I don't know. Oh. We weren't a big gift family.
Okay. See, now we're getting off course with gifts, but this would definitely be a great gift for the recent Christmas season.
Yeah. So Woobo was founded in 2015. It's based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It has raised close to $7 million in funding at this point, including a crowdfunding campaign. It's a very cute, soft-looking toy. When Eric and I signed in to CES and got our media credentials, they had a case that had what looked to be an imprisoned Woobo in the case. And we asked, hey, we're interviewing that company. Can we see this? And the guy looks at us. What did he say?
He goes, I don't think so.
We said, okay. We walked away.
But we did get to play with some Woobos before the interview.
Yeah, we did get to play with a Woobo. We have some great photos from this interview we're excited to share with you. So we're going to jump into the interview here with Feng. But if you guys have any thoughts on this interview as we're going through, please tweet at us at UpsideFM or email us hello@upside.fm.
Hey guys, wanted to cut in here real quick and let you know about something Jay and I have been getting ready behind the scenes in 2019. When we started this podcast, Jay and I said that you, the listener, would have an opportunity to learn in real time, to think like venture investors with us as we meet a wide variety of personalities and examine a wide range of industries. Well, now we're going to share something new, and it's a little different. This new idea is called The Update. It's a carefully curated quarterly publication of editorials, trends, and stories happening outside of Silicon Valley. Jay and I will be writing stories about what we're learning about on the podcast, have guest editorials on interesting topics, and share news and updates from our podcasts. In some cases, we may even share some exclusive content or first looks. Our goal is to stay at the cutting edge, and of course, bring you along with us. We're super excited about it and know you're going to love it. If you want to be the first to hear about our Q1 launch and subsequent letters, go to upside.fm/update to get on the mailing list.
Feng, welcome to the show.
Hello.
It's great to have you here. We like to start on Upside with a history of the founder. So can you tell us about the history of Feng?
Yeah, so for me, I was an international student. I had my undergrad from China. It's Tsinghua University, one of the top engineering school. And then after I finished my undergrad, I went to MIT to took my graduate school first as a master, and then unfortunately growing into a PhD because I don't know what else I should do. So just keep doing research, especially in robotics, control, artificial intelligence. And being a PhD is kind of being put into a jail somehow when you are in the...
That you chose.
Yeah, voluntary in jail. So in my 4th or 5th year, I thought, okay, anything I do rather than research is good.
Yeah.
So that's where...
What year was that? Talk to me about the timeline. When was MIT?
It was 2010 to 2016. Yeah, and around 2015, I really cannot focus purely on research anymore. So just try to find some side projects or something fun to develop.
So for the listeners, Tsinghua is like one of the best schools in China. It's an incredible school. So ni han congming.
Yeah. Very good Chinese, yeah. Tsinghua is so-called the MIT in China.
Yeah, so you did MIT in America, MIT in China, just knock them both out, right?
Yeah, and it's quite weird. It's like after I got to MIT, there was one very weird ranking of world universities, and Tsinghua got higher than MIT. So far, we don't believe that ranking.
You downgraded.
Yeah.
It's okay. Eric and I went to a state school, so yeah, pretty much anybody could get in.
Yeah.
So talk to us about growing up in China. What was that like?
It's very different from US. So growing in China, you have a lot of pressure for entering the college. So there will be a lot of coursework instead of really so much like extracurricular events or activities. So that's why like for me as a Chinese student, it's only after I enter the college I try to develop more about my interest or like what's the passion for my future career. Before that, it's just like some nerd working on math and math and science stuff. Yeah, so the college actually opened up my eyes, and that's when I decide I want to study abroad to even further explore.
And why'd you pick the United States versus anywhere else in the world?
I think it's the dreamland for science and technology. You see all these great companies, these great products and inventions coming out of US. Even since I was in junior high, I was already a huge fan of robotics, and that's where you see Boston Dynamics, iRobot. They all come from US. Yeah.
And how did you get that first exposure to robotics to even know that you were interested in it?
Yeah, the sad story is my father is a robotics engineer, so my toy was robot manipulators. It's very weird. It's not any race car. It's a robot arm. Yeah, so you just twist that a robot arm and make something fun. So that's first why I know robot is something that might be cool, and then it's a lot of sci-fi fiction novels like Jules Verne and these kind of novels open up my mind, and then R2D2, this pop culture stuff.
So talk to me about that time at MIT. You said at around 2015 or 2016 you had to stop just studying and find something to kind of apply to. So how did you navigate that time? How did you decide what you wanted to apply some of this knowledge and experience to?
Yeah, I think actually when I was a PhD, there was some confusion about the theory or research I developed. Can they be put into real practice? So during that time, I got some interns from local startups. That first gave me some sense of how can knowledge be put into use. One company was using Roomba-like robots to move the pots in the greenhouses, and the other is to make an active suspension system for automobiles. So it first gave me some sense of practical use of knowledge, and second, I get to have a taste of the startup culture. And even if I haven't been to any big company before, but I can sense that I like the small team and startup atmosphere already.
That's awesome. So tell me more about the research itself. What were you studying?
Yeah, so for us, the lab was called nonlinear control systems. So we make control theory to make sure the robot manipulator can move from point A to point B in a stable way, in an expected way. So nothing weird will happen. But we are also trying to find some connection between traditional control theory with modern machine learning techniques. So for my PhD thesis is about some new algorithm for autonomous driving.
That's fun. And I didn't go to any graduate school yet, and maybe I never will, I don't know. But if I did, I would look at a school that I knew the people I was around would really push me. So talk to me about the atmosphere of being at MIT and what people there are like. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so the first experience is I don't think I will have any hope in academia.
Oh, yeah.
Because the other people are super smart, It's I know I'm smart, but they are super smart when they only take a look at some equation and they have the answer. So I know I cannot outsmart them in this theoretical research or even compare, even my passion cannot be comparable to them. They can lock themselves in some dark black rooms and really enjoy doing research. But for me, I like a lot of fun social life and all the new things happening in this world. So on the other side, MIT is always an exciting place. You always hear the newest things. CEO of Mobileye will come to share some new understanding of autonomous driving, or Nobel Prize winners will come and share their research that might be applied maybe 50 or 100 years later. So it gives you the sense of a future or the frontier of human understanding.
That's really cool. So you talked about autonomous driving a couple times. You said your research kind of blended into that field. Why didn't you go down an autonomous driving path?
Yeah, so I think there is an interesting saying. It's like the more you know something, the more difficulty you will understand. So for me, like it's because my research is in autonomous driving, I know the certain limitations of current techniques. And also for me, like the startup I work on now, it's kind of my childhood dream or like a very personal passion. So I guess for me, when I choose the future career, I follow my heart more to follow the passion rather than really count how can I make my expertise better use.
I want to get into that passion in a second, but first you mentioned that there are some limits in the modern application of autonomous driving. What are those? Like what, as someone who understands it infinitely better than myself, I would be really curious to hear what you see as the limitations in autonomous driving. Because when we read the Wall Street Journal, like it's like, oh, it's coming, 5 years, done, it's going to be here, right?
I think just yesterday, Tesla just like ran into a robot on the street, right? Just at CES. So for me, both myself and my advisor at MIT, we believe in something more elegant and simple. So I think for autonomous driving in the past few years, the algorithm itself hasn't been developed into that direction. It's more about some heavy computation and how to better harness the computation power. I'm not 100% convinced about near future huge progress, but I think there are a lot of really talented people working on that. So at least we won't need to really drive when we are on highway, I guess, in a couple of years. But comparing to passion, that limitation might just be a minor effect.
I'm going to keep going down this side path a little bit because it's interesting to me too. I spent some time just studying the smart city space, super brief amount of time, but I'd love to hear from you what you think of, like, practically, how will self-driving even integrate into the world? Are we going to be retrofitting old cars? Is there going to be a time where there's self-driving and non-self-driving cars on the road? How do those manage? Like, to me, it seems like the in-between time of now versus every car on the road is self-driving is very difficult for me to understand or navigate. So I'd love to hear just your perspective.
Yeah, in my personal feeling, I think there need to be some very huge change of everything. So first, when it's autonomous driving, you don't need to have the wheel. I mean, ideally, right? If it is real autonomous driving. So the car itself should be changing. It may have larger touch screens, so we can watch movies or like computers to do some work on the road. The second is the current road or traffic system is fitted with these traditional cars. It's like when we were riding horses, we don't have these highways. And now cars with highways, the railways for the trains. So for autonomous driving, what should be the infrastructure? I think that will be some very interesting topic, combining infrastructure development or even 5G technology. And on the other side, I think just the last CES, Toyota was saying that they are not a car company anymore. They are like a traffic solution company. So do we really need one moving part and one cabin for each car, or do we just only need to share these cars? I can see a lot of change in the next maybe 10 to 20 years.
Something you just brought up was our sort of highway infrastructure in the United States around cars. And that is very different from the rest of the world in terms of how we set up cities to accommodate vehicles versus setting up vehicles to accommodate the way the cities worked, which is true of most European countries. Do you think that autonomous vehicles in an autonomous city is more likely to start in the United States or in some other country?
I'm not 100% sure here. If I take a guess, I think it might happen earlier in some developing countries because they have not immature infrastructure, so they can start something new from scratch. One comparison is that, for example, in China, the e-payment system is very advanced and developed. It's because we don't have mature credit card system, right? But in US, it's relatively slower. So if I take a guess, I would say it may not be US to have the first future city.
So let's jump back to your childhood. You mentioned that you had a lot of autonomous cars, a lot of future. All right, now let's go back. You said that you had this kind of childhood dream of whether it's a company or a product. Has that manifested itself in what you're doing now? Is that the idea? And then what was that childhood dream?
Yeah, I think so. I think when I was a kid, there was the Japanese cartoon called Doraemon. It's a kind of bluish cat coming from the future. It can provide emotional support to the main character and also take him all around the world with some magic door going to anywhere. So that's where I think, wow, it would be magnificent if you can have some companion or like a little buddy who isn't your brother or sister and not your mom and dad, and they have some magical power stuff. So later, like when I was growing up, you can see all these pop culture movies, like even R2-D2 doesn't talk, you still want to have one, right? And Baymax, the Minions. So I think for me, the dream isn't anything really about robotics or like what's the invention or the AI, artificial intelligence. It's about how can we have a talking puppy. And now the puppy can talk with you and share some stories. You can even talk with him and learn his magical part of the world. So I think that would be really interesting. It's kind of like a virtual life for a digital pet.
I just got a real puppy, and I wish it could talk because, oh my God, pees in the house, poops. Well, it doesn't poop in the house. That's a good thing. But it does pee in the house, and it would be very nice to know what he means when he's barking.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would be nice if you didn't have to pay for food or clean up after it at all.
Right. Yeah.
Which I assume is the case with Woobo. So before I dive into more specific questions about Woobo, can you explain what Woobo is?
Yeah, so for us, Woobo is a smart companion robot. So it's fluffy outside and smart inside. It has a touch screen, it has a voice interaction capability, and that's where we want to both find some companionship and emotional support for the kids to inspire, encourage, and also somehow like guide the kid to learn more stuff and answer their curious questions or help them to explore different possibilities. So for the emotional part, like brushing teeth alone might be boring, but what if you have another cartoon character brushing the teeth of a giraffe? It's 2 minutes for both Woobo and for the kid. And for the exploration part, it's like, what is the day feeling if you are a firefighter or maybe if you are opening a pet clinic in some magical wonderland? So it can be some digital experience and interaction going on to help the kids to better understand there.
So for the listeners who haven't seen this, the Woobo, I would say, is about the size of not quite a basketball.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
A little bit smaller than a basketball. Volleyball is probably a better estimate. It has a screen on the front of it that is probably about half of the total surface area of the front. And so that screen, I'm looking at the website right now, on one screen it has the eyes and a mouth. And so it looks like a very complete, just like character. And on another screen, I see the Woobo itself has an image of the Woobo in it brushing his teeth. So talk to me about the screen and the breadth of what it displays.
So first, just to give the audience an easy to understand concept, Woobo is called by a lot of other people as smarter Furby.
I was gonna, oh man. When I've been describing this to people, I'm like, it's like a Furby, but like it has a screen on it.
And it doesn't chirp all night.
Yeah.
We had 3 of them that would just literally sit on a shelf and chirp all night. I was like, why do we even have these things?
Okay, well, while we're on the Furby route, did you have a Furby when you were growing up? Because it's probably about the same time period that it was in my life.
Yeah, but not for me in China, but I had a Tamagotchi then.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Furby, I remember, was so hot when it came out.
Oh, yeah.
So impossibly hard to find. So what did you learn, or what have you learned since about what Furby did well and maybe did not do well that's helped you?
Yeah, I think that's the very good question that sometimes what we ask back to the investors. Because when you are opening a startup and you pitch to investors, they will ask you what is your need, right? What's the customer pain? But when you take a look at Furby, what's the customer pain? Why do you keep a pet, a puppy or a cat? So I think there is some intrinsic emotional need that people want something alive in their daily life and can be a little bit lively, not too noisy, and kind of smart. So that's why when we try to find a tagline for Woobo, we say smart and goofy always together. So that's the kind of inspiration we borrow from Furby.
The design. Is that the first design? Is that the V1 design, or did you go through a lot of designs to get to this product?
Yeah, we had a lot of designs. So actually, when we first founded the company, it was two nerd engineers, one robotics, which is myself, and our other co-founder was a Ph.D. in artificial intelligence, especially natural language processing. And the robot we made was looking like a Terminator.
Nightmare fuel for the child.
Yeah, that will scare the kids to cry.
Yeah.
And that's why we find a designer from RISD. And he is kind of the magical hand here who turned Terminator into huggable teddy bear, you know.
So you guys have two MIT PhDs and RISD. For the people who don't know, that's Rhode Island School of Design, which is the #1 design school in the world. That's a pretty solid team.
Yeah, actually, one MIT, one Carnegie Mellon. Yeah, one RISD. And then we had a lot of Harvard team members. Yeah.
Very cool. And then the name Woobo, did that go through iterations as well?
That was actually our first name. I guess that's something interesting that we want to share. It's like when we designed the robot, we already wanted to be cuddly and fluffy. So we want to find a name that has a lot of circles in it. The name itself is round and huggable. So that's why you see the OOBO. And we try to find the first letter, and W is good, like Woobo, which is a good combination. So that comes to the name.
The two O's in the middle you have highlighted by a different color. Is that kind of to call attention to the eyes of the robot?
Yeah, exactly, because we think that's also our theory. It's like if in my ideal design, I think voice, facial expressions, and body movements would be three key factors for making you feel it's something alive. But during the development, we dropped the body movement for later development. But we still keep the facial expression. That's where you see the personality.
So the robot doesn't walk around the room at this point. You're saying it's a screen that houses sort of like the personality of this machine. What is the breadth of what I as a child, I'm not a child for the listeners out there, I am a fully grown man. But what is the breadth for...
Only physically.
Only physically. What is the breadth of what I as a child can do with this toy?
You mean how can the...
Yeah, what are the different ways I can interact with it? What can it do?
Yeah, so the kids can ask Woobo questions. They can have a simple click on the ear. We make this part... we drop the activation word or hi Alexa stuff because we want to keep the privacy and safety. So it's only when the kid click on the ear, the robot will start listening. The kids can say, why is the sky blue? Or tell me a little story. Or do you feel happy today? So it can be voice interaction. But we do find that the kids are already super familiar with touch screens. So once we send the robot to their hand, they will poke here and there on the touch screen. So we add in that interface for the touch screen, and that's easier for the kids to make choices. For example, we have the Mad Libs game on Woobo. We ask, what's your favorite superhero? Superman, Batman, or Iron Man? So the kids can make a simple choice, and that will be the superhero later appeared in the story.
What are the ages of a child that would use Woobo?
Yeah, so we developed the robot targeting at 3 to 8 years old kids, and that's our best age range. But we do see customers or say users that can be younger or a little bit older. Yeah.
When you were doing your first tests of this, what were some of the surprises you found? I'm guessing you started with a small kind of focus group or maybe 25 people. I could be wrong, but if you did do that, what were some of the initial feedback pieces that surprised you?
I think the first thing came into my mind is the power of being huggable. When we develop a robot, we think, if it can wiggle a little bit or maybe move the arms, it will be fantastic. But every kid or parent, when they have the robot, they say, it's so soft. So I think softness itself is some power. It gives it close up the distance between the user and our product, and also it provides them some emotional support. So that's where we find, let's not be too smart as a robot. Let's be a little goofy and soft and cuddly.
So for this toy to be the toy that a child grapples onto, as a quick aside, as a story, I have 4 nieces, and the oldest just turned 9. So for the past several years at Christmas, I've been trying to find a toy that they would like. And I buy something that's soft and cuddly. I think they're going to love it. And they pick it up, they throw it down. It's not the toy of choice. How does Woobo become sort of the toy of choice for these children versus a gazillion, plush toys or anything else out there?
We think it's 3 parts. So the first, the appearance. The appearance itself is cute and cuddly. It's like once you see it, you want to have a touch of it. Then when the screen lights up, you see the eyes, you see the facial expressions. You get a secondary surprise. Oh, it's alive. It may have some personality or characters back there. And then third is about these interactive contents. These can be choose your own adventure games or maybe make-believe stories. And we also have carefully curated songs and stories from our partners like Storybots and Pinkfong to make sure the digital experience and the physical experience can have the best combination.
So one other thing in terms of competitors for children's attention. Jay just mentioned other toys. One thing that I've seen and have heard through some of the other interviews we've done on this podcast is parents' inclination to give their children iPads to get them to shut up or to get them to just behave. Is this a substitute for that? Is this supplemental to that? How do those two things interact?
Yeah, so for us, we think Woobo is kind of the first electronics that kids are supposed to have, because when we develop, when Apple develop iPhone and iPad, they weren't designed for the kids. So you cannot drop it, you cannot hug it, it cannot be the nightlight when the kids go to sleep. So for us, when we design this product, it's not about the hardware or the technology. It's about the daily life experience for the kid. So start from waking up in the morning, toothbrushing, eating breakfast. You need to eat more broccoli, right? And then some game time or maybe toy time during the afternoon. And finally, the bedtime routines. So we designed this product for that daily experience. And that's where we think it's electronics specifically developed for the kids that can also give the parents the assistance and the control they would need.
So this seems like this is a big undertaking for you. You're spending a lot of time building and creating this business around this toy. Talk to me about why you ended up pulling the trigger to do this versus working for another toy company, or why entrepreneurship for you?
I think the first part is the passion itself. It's I want to explore this opportunity. The second part is the surprising feedback. When we first took some Woobo prototypes to kids' homes, there were a lot of bugs. The screen go dark and we say, oh, you need to wait a little bit. Woobo is just sleeping. And you see the kids put a small blanket on the robot. Oh, they say, Woobo, you cannot get cold. Or maybe they put a little crown onto the Woobo's head. Because we made Woobo gender neutral. But so we don't say it's a him or she, but we ask the kids, do you think Woobo is a girl or a boy? The kids say, I think it's a boy. And they put a crown on Woobo, say, now she's a girl. So we see a lot of magical moments there, and these feedbacks also inspire and encourage us. And third part is we got fund supported right after we got out of the MIT accelerator. So that also gives us some confidence of further pursuing this opportunity.
What is the MIT accelerator?
MIT has the Martin Trust Center, which is the entrepreneurship center that coaches the students with startup ideas or projects. And every summer, we have a selection of 10 to 15 teams. When we got selected, it's called Global Founder Skill Accelerator, which is super long. And now they call it Delta V.
Super short.
Yeah, super short. So that's a 3-month program. And the program was totally free for all the students. And it guides us for market research to make sure your idea isn't just some random idea. It's really needed by real customers. And what is the business model around that? And that really helped us a lot, even when we were at very early stage.
How many companies go through the accelerator, and then how many get some level of funding?
I think we have around 15 teams each year, and we should be having 5 to 7 cohorts already.
So, coming out of that, you said you got some funding. Did that come from the accelerator, or people attached to the accelerator? Where'd that come from?
Yeah, so the accelerator itself will give us some kickoff funding. For us, that year it was 20K. Yeah. And after that, we will have some demo days, both in Boston, New York, or the Bay Area. And that's where we get in touch with some investors.
That's great. So to this point, what level of funding has Woobo raised?
So when we first got off the accelerator, we raised 800K as a seed round. And after that, we had the angel round and the pre-A round. In total, we have raised around $7 million US.
And what is the majority of that money going to? Is it hardware?
There has been mainly 3 parts. So at the early stage, it's more like about human cost. So we need to do recruiting and pay the talents. And second, we do outsource some of our hardware development because Shenzhen, China has very mature supply chain for hardware-related products. And third is about some marketing preparation so that we can get more people to know Woobo, especially during our Kickstarter preparations.
So tell me, where is Woobo now? Is it in market? You just mentioned Kickstarter. Is it about to launch?
Yeah, so we kick off our Kickstarter around end of 2017 and also during the Christmas season. And we sold out all our 3,000 units in just a month. So it was around late last year, late 2018, we really officially kick off we really officially launched the product on Amazon and also our official Shopify webpage. Yeah.
300,000 units in 2017, and that was after Kickstarter. Okay. And last year, you put on Amazon. So what did 2018 look like in terms of unit sales?
Yeah, we sold another 3,000 units for 2018, but we start relatively late because we gather a lot of feedbacks from our crowdfunding customers and turn these feedbacks into adjustments and upgrades of the beta product.
What's it cost to make a Woobo?
Yeah, that's a tough question. So actually our retail price right now is $149. We are not making too much of profit on the hardware side because we want to still make the robot affordable for all families. And it's the content in the robot that would be more valuable for the kids in the educational and companionship sense.
So am I understanding this right, that there are effectively there's content in there that they can buy? Or, okay, so there's not freemium, but you pay for the hardware and then there's additional content.
Yeah, so when you buy the hardware, there will already very good contents coming as free. You can subscribe to premium contents like songs and stories from our third-party partners. The contents we roll out, the Woobo company roll out, will always be free for the customers. And we have roughly 1 to 2 new games each week.
Okay, so for the third-party partners, you said subscribe. Is it a subscription model where they pay every month, or is it I go in and I say, oh, there's this really cool new unicorn story that I want to buy, so I buy that?
Yeah, it will be a combination. So it will be a better deal when you subscribe because you pay just $4, you get 1 month free use of all the contents. But if you really like one specific song or one specific package, you can pay $2 to get the song or the whole channel.
Does it have a level of storage that can I have too much stuff on my Woobo?
Yeah, so we have the local cache of roughly 50-ish songs and stories that you don't need to have Wi-Fi connection. But all the other contents are stored in the cloud, so you can visit them anytime when you can get connected.
And so for the third parties, I'm assuming you, Woobo, the company, takes some percentage of all third-party sales. What is that percentage?
Yeah, so we have a revenue share deal with our third-party partners. We cannot really give you the numbers because that's confidential in the contract, but we do want to make sure our content partners can have most of the profit. So we want to build a small ecosystem for children contents.
And so at this point, it sounds like those partnership agreements are kind of very one-to-one, like you make them. So how would a third party who wants to develop for the Woobo do that?
So for us, first we will approach them for their existing contents already, like songs and stories. For example, the Shark Shark song from Pink Fong. Yeah. Second, for the interactive contents making, we are still exploring here. Because for us, we know the future of the content will be interactive media, kind of like the Black Mirror during the Christmas season. And we just made up the one platform for developing interactive contents using our tech team. So later we want to find what's the best format to collaborate with content developers using our content SDK.
I feel like a lot of toys purposefully create new units, so you feel like you have to get a new toy, like it's kind of baked in obsolescence, right? So how do you guys approach the evolution of the Woobo? It sounds like you want people to feel like they can buy one unit and continue to upgrade the software or the add-ons within it, and that's enough for you guys. But do you guys consider, some sort of Tickle Me Woobo, or a different SKU, a different unit itself besides the software?
Yeah, that's true. So we have different plans here. So the first plan is the recurring revenue of the digital assets. So it's not just the songs and stories. The parents and kids can even pay a little bit to have different facial expressions. You can have the one-eye Woobo, or maybe the unicorn Woobo, or maybe long eyelash Woobo. So there will be a lot of customization and personalization that gives them a lot of free choices. And the second part is we want to make the Woobo plush character to be exchangeable. So you can say, today I want the red angry Woobo. Tomorrow I want to have the blue, calm Woobo. So that's why, in 2019, we will release the newer Woobo model where the plush cover can be changed.
Real quick on that, how many units would a typical, if I'm a parent, am I buying multiple Woobos for my kid? Do kids want multiple Woobos, or do they just want one?
From what we so first the parents would need to only buy one Woobo, and for our design, the lifetime it will last for around 1 to 2 years. So that's the expected lifetime of kind of a digital electronics. And later we can have some further upgrade. For example, we are planning on a 7-inch screen Woobo later this year, so the parents can have some other upgrade options. And the third part is we also want to see the Woobo robot's role as the center of a small ecosystem. For example, one of our friend company is making origami robots with papers and small actuators. So we want to say, okay, what if Woobo is the character guiding the kids during the make of that robot? So we want Woobo to kind of help the parents to pick what will be the next robots or the next STEM tools to choose.
If the Woobo is expected to last 1 to 2 years, and maybe you don't have enough time has passed to know the data on this, what happens for a child's mind or temperament if they're replacing this companion? Do they mourn the loss of this Woobo, or do they get a new Woobo and just assume it's the same person, companion?
So 2 parts. So first, we do have some early bugs for the Kickstarter beta products, and we see the customers want to repair their Woobo rather than change for one or maybe return it. So there is some emotional attachment there.
Otherwise, you're going to have to have a talk with your kids that says hey, we're sending Woobo to a farm upstate.
Yeah. Also on the other side, so first there is the emotional attachment. Sorry, I forgot that.
Not bad. Bad joke. That was on me.
Do people tend to name their Woobo something, or they call it Woobo?
Right now, they still call it Woobo, but the parents can input their kid's name or nickname. So that name will appear in the story a lot. So it won't be well done, you finished the challenge. It will be, well done, Tom, you finished the challenge. And even that simple trick creates some relationship there, yeah.
I have a question on personality. So you have an AI person, AI co-founder. Is the personality of Woobo preordained? no matter who you are, your Woobo is going to have a very similar personality, or does it get kind of adjusted over time as you interact with it more?
We do have that plan to provide that adjustment in the future. Right now, it's still like quite similar to each other, but we do want to evolve a little bit more. Oh, so that's where I remember the last point. Yeah,
There it is. It's back.
so for the kids, we also want to find some shared memory. So for example, today we made up a MadLib story where you choose your favorite hero to be Spider-Man and favorite color to be green. And maybe 1 week later, we will remind the kid of the story we made up together. So it will be the shared story to build something unique that cannot be replaced.
What's battery like?
Our battery is 6,000 mAh, so that's kind of 3 times of your cell phone, because we want Woobo to be always there. So in the morning, Woobo can wake the kid up, and during the night, the kid can send Woobo to their bed and get it charged. So normally we have the power to last for 3 days, kind of 6-hour Euro usage.
Okay. One other question I just have in the back of my mind. Sold about 600,000 of these to date. Have you noticed any trends, other than probably parents buying it for their kids or something like that, but have you noticed any trends amongst your customer base?
We do see a lot of appreciation from parents who have their kids on the autistic spectrum. So that really helped them a lot for keeping their kids on healthy daily routine and kind of ease the anxiety for the kids.
Talk to me more about, if I'm a parent, what are the benefits that I can expect in my child's development by giving them a Woobo?
So we think Woobo is a little curious buddy who always have new ideas. So his role isn't about teaching, it's about inspiring and encouraging. So for example, Woobo can say, okay, let's learn a new song today. Or maybe, you know what, it's mom's birthday tomorrow, let's draw a red heart, or maybe let's make a origami puppy to send it as the gift to the mom. So we think it's here where kids' creativity, imagination, and curiosity can have better support.
What is the line you draw there between encouragement and active teaching, and why have you drawn it?
So first, I think that's about the experience of learning. So we think if you tell the kids you need to eat more broccoli, it's kind of teaching, right? So it's like you should do something is right, something is wrong. But what if the kids learn something through experience? They can learn how to deal with even some social emotional development through some role play games. So I think that's the learn, or like the inspiration. The kids can learn what's the right value through these games or these interactions.
Kind of puts you and Woobo in a position of like a moral or a development compass almost. I think that's pretty fascinating because it gives you a good counter position. Like I keep on coming back to the iPad because that's what I see parents using most. And the iPad is very not just cold to the touch, but cold to the, I think, development of children. So I really just like, I don't know, this isn't really a question. It's just like I appreciate that point. But I do have a question, which is, where does the line get drawn on too much screen time for children?
So actually, when we design the product, we very carefully think about this problem. Our expected usage for Woobo each day is less than 1 hour. We don't want to exceed that time, because we think 1 hour digital time is enough to get kids inspired and encouraged. So if you use Woobo, you will find each day it will have limited contents. Maybe 3 games, 3 songs, and 3 stories. So that makes up for 1 hour. And tomorrow, everything is changed. So it both gave the kids some fresh sense of the product, and also it somehow helped the parents to limit the usage of screen time. And they won't need to be the bad guy there.
Does that mean that there is a maximum of 1 hour set? Or if I'm a kid, can I use Woobo for 2 hours? I just have to play the same games over?
You can.
Okay, so there's fresh content for 1 hour, but that's that's it.
Yeah, but we also give the parents their choice on the mobile app, so they can say, okay, the maximum usage of Woobo is 1 hour or 2 hours each day, and after that, Woobo will be very sleepy. So
You're just exhausted. You played with me too much. One follow-up question on that. Do you have any data or insight into what the actual usage is per day for the Woobos that are out there?
yeah, so right now from the data we saw, we observed that normally Woobo is used 2 to 3 days per week. Weekdays more than weekends, and 51 minutes per active day.
Do you see any patterns in how this either helps or harms a child's ability to relate to other human children?
Actually, we are very careful and we pay a lot of attention here. So first we see kids are much smarter than us. They know it's a toy. It's not their brother or sister or their friend. So it is a toy they can actually share with their friends. And that's where we intentionally made some social games, like the hot potatoes, like pass on Woobo as a hot potato. If it stops at your
Hot
hand-
Powudo.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, then
You can have that one.
you need to jump on single foot for 10 times maybe, just to make some silly games that the kids can have some shared topic or shared activity. So that's where we say Woobo isn't here to replace anyone. It gives us some good trigger. Like what can we do as a family? For example, we made one great event. It's called Family Trivia Night. So we said, okay, on Tuesday from 8 to 12, you can enter this specific access to Woobo Trivia Night. When you go through all the 13 challenges, you can post the ends of the screen on Facebook, and we will send some Amazon gift card to lucky ones. Okay. And around 50% of our users participate in the activity. And they send not only the screenshot, they send all the family members holding up Woobo in their hands. And the comments were, thanks for a very meaningful and hilarious night. Like we learned something together as a family.
This might be a little personal, but do you have children?
No. Yeah.
So where do you come up with these ideas?
So I think when I seek for new ideas, I have kind of this superpower to channel back to the child when I was. Because I remember when I was a kid, I didn't have much toy, but I know how to make origami. So I made some origami frog that when you push it, it can jump, right? So that's the interaction. And you make stories like frogs fight with each other. So that's where we think inspiration and encouragement is more important than teaching. So exactly to answer your question, when we guide the kid to draw something, it's like it's not like you need to draw a turtle like this or that. It's like, okay, let's imagine some monster. This monster has 3 heads, one triangle one, a rectangle one, and a circle one. It can be green, red, or blue. And you see all different drawings from all different kids. So that's where we think it's more about encouragement and creativity rather than teaching the kids how to do or what to do.
So you mentioned earlier, when investors talk about this, they want to know what problem are you solving. Obviously, you've been able to convince investors of the viability of this product to the tune of $7 million or so raised capital. How big is this opportunity for Woobo, and how do you quantify it?
So I think we are entering into a very interesting area because for the past few years, we saw the rapid development of AI, right? From Siri to Amazon Echo, and then maybe Jabo and Cosmo. But when we take a look at artificial intelligence, we are trying to see how can it be useful as a tool or maybe as an assistant. But nowadays, from my personal opinion, I think we have enough information. We just don't have someone who can take care of them and give us the most useful ones. That's one part of the need, but we may not have enough motivation to do something. We may not have enough inspiration of what to do tonight, or how should I spend some time with my kid. So in that case, we are just providing some help on the motivation, emotion, and inspiration. And I think that might be the emotional part of artificial intelligence that might be having even much bigger potential.
I want to take us back to kind of where we started this interview, which was our good friend Furby. One of the things, as I was thinking about Furby, that just didn't work was the voice. So it was so annoying and so screechy that I think it like turned a lot of people off to Furbies, and I still have that voice like in the back of my head from like screeching in the back room, like I said earlier. How did you kind of come up with or perfect the Woobo voice?
So I think the technology part really plays a very important role here. We train our own speech synthesizer algorithms so that we can have even different voices. Some kid might want some more girlish voice or maybe some more low and tough voice. So we can get some voice samples from our collaborative voice actors, and also we can even provide more samples based on these data.
That's great. So, what do you see Woobo doing in the next year, 2 years, 3 years? What's the future for Woobo?
Yeah, I think for the next 1 or 2 years, as a startup, we need to be very down to earth. We need to sell more Woobo and bring more Woobos into families and kids. But I think for 2 or 3 years, we want Woobo to be kind of providing some inspiration for daily life. It's about, okay, what should we do tonight as a family? It can be the family trivia night. It can be the dad learning some silly dance with their little girls. So we will be providing these assets or maybe providing these encouragements. But maybe 5 years down the road, we want to see the real potential of digital life. Maybe it's a digital pet. Maybe it can even move around and bark at you. It will have different personality for different user. It will have its own emotions. So sometimes it's down, sometimes it's very happy. So yeah, there are really a lot of fantastic things to explore.
I know that Boston is a big robotics hub, and you're in Cambridge, so similar Boston, Cambridge. I'm just going to call it all Boston for now. Did Woobo have to be made in Boston, or could it is there a reason that Woobo is succeeding in Boston?
Yeah, so first, I'm a huge Bostonian, so I really love Boston. I think when I take a look back, Boston is really the best place where Woobo can happen, because it's not just the technology where we have MIT, right? It's also about design, where RISD is only 1 hour drive, where education, you have Harvard. So it's a lot of different talents. It's not just the technology, it's all the expertise combined together that you can make Woobo happen. One inspiration why I made this startup was there was an interview for Ideal, I remember, of that shopping cart. It's a bunch of engineers, even psychologists and social experts. They form up a kind of a G.I. Joe team to make wonders happen. So I think Boston do have that kind of atmosphere. And Boston also has, I don't know whether it's right to say it, Boston also has a kind of slow tempo that can give time and patience to a little bit long-term projects. Yeah.
Great. Feng, thank you so much for being on the show. If people want to learn more about you or about Woobo after the show, where should they go?
They can visit our website. It's www.woobo.io. So that's our website. They can also follow us through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Great. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Hey everyone, we're here at CES, and today's podcast is brought to you from the Blue Microphones podcast suite at CES 2019. You probably know Blue from their best-selling Yeti mic that's all over the internet. In fact, Jay and I built Upside on the back of the Yeti mic. This week at CES, Blue is announcing the Ember. It's a new studio XLR microphone for professional recording, YouTube production, streaming, and podcasting. It's $99. Blue offers a full range of premium USB and XLR studio mics, which we're actually recording with today. From podcasting to YouTube to music, if you're a storyteller, Blue wants to help you amplify your voice. Visit bluedesigns.com to learn more.
All right, Eric, we just spoke with Feng of Woobo. A lot of places to go with this. So where do you want to start today?
I think let's start with my bad Chinese at the beginning that he so graciously commented on as saying it was very good. I try to say you're very smart, and I stuttered over it, which made me sound very dumb. It's been a while, Jay. It's been a while since I've spoken much Chinese.
You very smart.
Well, he is very smart. He went to the MIT of China, and he went to the MIT of MIT, so he's a smart dude.
For sure. I loved that he spent some time talking about what it was like being at MIT, and that was obviously because I asked it. But I can't imagine what it's like to spend several years, enough years to get a advanced degree around the type of person that he has to be around at MIT. And what was the university in China?
Tsinghua.
In Tsinghua. Gotta be an absurd group of people. Man, it's gotta be intimidating.
Yeah, well, I don't think he was intimidated because I think he's incredibly smart. He was playing with robots growing up. I mean, his thesis wasn't on child's toys. It was on autonomous driving and robotics.
Yeah.
What was it? Robotic...
Multi-agent synchronization, nonlinear control, machine learning, and robotics.
I'll just call that robot stability because I have no idea what half of those words mean.
And I wonder, if someone were to give you Feng's background and pedigree and say, this man is an entrepreneur, what do you think his company is? You probably wouldn't have guessed that it was a child's toy.
Yeah, smart Furby.
I don't know if he would appreciate that categorization or not, but he
called it smart Furby, not us.
Yeah, wicked smart Furby there in Cambridge. We went to the Woobo booth and we saw the Woobo. We played with it a little bit. It is very huggable.
It is. It's very comfy. They had a mini Woobo there, and they also had a Snorlax-sized Woobo, which was so awesome. I could have fallen asleep right there after doing 4 hours of interviews and just being like mentally stimulated from walking around CES. You get a little tired, and that Snorlax-sized Woobo, that it was super plush and super comfy, I could have fallen asleep for sure.
So something that struck me from this interview, Woobo is a little bit further along than a lot of the companies on our show. They've had about $7 million in funding. They've sold 600,000 units, which really took me off guard, surprised me. Feng is such a humble guy that seems to downplay a lot of the success they've had so far. I don't know anything about the child's toy market, but it seems outside of our normal company that comes on here and says, we saw a problem, we're solving the problem. A lot of child's toys are not necessarily solving a problem. That being said, Woobo seems to be taking on a little bit of a social need for children.
Right. It's almost like this idea of like Woobo as a moral compass seems to exist in the company. And there is a problem out there. I think we brought it up in the interview, which is this idea that kids are just on their screens so much from a super young age. Like I gave the example of parents just handing children iPads. I think that is a real parenting solution. We talked about it in the Bark episode. We talked about it in this episode. And because of that, there is a lot of screen time for very fragile brains in development.
Yeah, the tagline they have, smart and goofy always together. I've noticed as I grow up, a growing trend of loneliness in myself and people around me. Just people in general seem to be getting more isolated, and loneliness is talked about more. And I don't know if that's an actual trend as time is passing, or if it's just an awareness that I have as I get older. But if it is a trend that is happening, I wonder if it's happening in children the same way that it's happening in adults.
That's an interesting question. And is this a solution, I guess, to that potential trend?
It would have to be, if you're using it as a solution to that trend, as a parent who's buying the toy, you would have to be aware of that as a threat or an issue and buy it for that reason. And I don't know if that is the buying behavior of parents. I think it's probably more, they're probably saying like, this is some level of companionship, the same way that they say the iPad is some level of companionship or can take attention. But I'm not sure. What came to mind for me during this Woobo interview, historically on this podcast, most things we talk to, I have a little bit of background and insight into, or I can kind of get. But this interview brought to me the idea we hear from a lot of investors where they don't invest in stuff they don't understand. This is a market that I just don't understand. And it would be hard for me to get into an opportunity like Woobo personally because I just don't understand that market.
Yeah, I get that. I think I can kind of understand it. if I think about who the customer is, right? The customer isn't the child. I mean, it is in the long run. You need the child to want this thing, but the customer is the parent. So why is the parent going to buy this for a child versus the newest Barbie doll or the newest Legos? Man, I am such a 90s kid that I went with Barbie and Legos, but why are you going to go with that? I think parents choose Legos because it stimulates creativity, right? That's why Legos has kind of taken off, is that it's seen as a toy, but it's seen as a toy that benefits the child. Whereas parents don't like buying Xboxes because video games have this connotation of like deteriorating a child's brain. So if you're looking at a toy and this toy is marketed or thought of as inspiring children to be better, so inspiring them to brush their teeth, inspiring them to be creative and explore new universes and play games that are good for their mental health. And I think that it kind of reminds me of the book Nudge, right? I think that's what Woobo is trying to do, is they're trying to take human behavior and nudge you into doing things that are good. So understanding like the psychology of a human and nudging you into doing the right thing. So one example they give in the book Nudge is for adults in your company, enrolling in a 401k program that say starts at 1% of your salary and every year goes up 0.5% or every whatever it is, but it's automatic because you say to yourself, hey, I want to put away 6%. But if you just have to opt into 6% as an increase or 1.5% as an increase, you probably won't do it. But if you elect one time, then your savings rates are just going to go up because you're going to, like, it's just something that you've already pre-programmed into yourself. It's not a decision you have to make in the future. So smart things like that, opt in versus opt out, setting things up front that are automatic. I think that those kind of nudges are what is present in Woobo, where it's taking advantage almost of the human brain for a good outcome.
The hard thing for me to marry as far as like concepts that go together, smart and goofy, always together. Also, though, expected usage of 1 hour per day. Also, expected usage of 2 to 3 days per week. So I'm trying to understand what he means by all those things. It seems like he's probably saying this toy is in the vicinity around the child all day, but they're actively communicating with it or using the screen less than an hour. And in those times, they're trying to do this nudge behavior. Is that your understanding?
Yeah, it's almost like I had trouble with this as well. The 2 to 3 days thing is what shocked me more than the 1 hour. Because I could see a world where, I mean, children's brains are like, they have so much imagination that the Woobo doesn't have to be on for them to be interacting with it, right? Like Legos aren't on, Barbies aren't on, but children still play with them for hours on end. So you could play with the Woobo and maybe you went on like a magical adventure last night and you recreate that magical adventure with the Woobo in like real space. But to me, the 2 to 3 days was a little bit more shocking and a little bit more concerning because I would expect it to be turned on for about an hour every day if it was an always together thing. And I don't know what the cause of that disconnect is between 2 to 3 days and 7 days a week.
This is also where my knowledge gap is because I watch my nieces and the plethora of toys they get for Christmas. I mentioned this in the interview. One of my nieces had a Super Grover toy that she played with all the time. And then inevitably it falls by the wayside and there's some other toy. So as a toy company, as Woobo, how do you continue to build that relationship? And if it is something where it is a companion, then I'm really interested to see what is the human behavior, the children human behavior when Woobo breaks or they need to get a new Woobo. What does that mean to them? It's just something I'm unfamiliar with and hard to understand long term what the opportunity is for this toy. Is it something that they only need the kid to care about for the 1 to 2 years before it needs to be replaced? Or, you know, what is that strategy as far as obsolescence goes and repeat buys?
Right. Can the Woobo, he talks about it like a talking puppy. That was the initial idea, right?
Yeah.
So puppies die during children's childhood and parents make up stories about why the puppy went away or whatever. I think that one thing you have a benefit here with Woobo is that it's a software. So if you are getting a new Woobo or your second Woobo, you could have it tell a story to the child about where it went and why it's a different color or why it sounds a little different or whatever. Like if you knew that they had a V1 and now they have a V3, there is the opportunity to spin a story there to the child from the Woobo, not from the parent. that can be like pre-programmed. Like, sorry, I had to go away because it's in Woobo land. We have like birthdays every 2 years and it's a little different and like whatever, like, so I disappeared and I might do it again in the future and whatever. So I think that point isn't, it's interesting from a behavioral standpoint, but I think it's solvable from a software standpoint. And I think your question about staying fresh over time gets to one of the areas that I'm most interested in with Woobo, which is this platform of apps.
Before we dive down that rabbit hole, something else I'd love to get your take on, because it's in the realm that we're about to leave. I think where my knowledge gap came from and what I'm trying to close right now, most of the companies we talked to on this show, their product is solving some job to be done by the customer. And the customer is looking for a solution to some problem. They're going to find and purchase one solution, and that is what that company is selling. In the children's toy market, that's not necessarily true. Because your customer already bought a toy A over here, does not preclude them from also buying the Woobo, which I think is something to consider in the market that we don't typically consider.
That's a fantastic point. And something I haven't really thought about with our past show guests is that they're all going for, you can't buy substitutes of them and them. You need to just pick one.
Right. Which is why I think I was surprised by the traction in Woobo initially, because those traction numbers, 600,000 units, sounds like a lot. But their market is naturally larger, I think, because it's not a winner-take-all market in the children's toy market. There are some fads that pop up that die out, and I think you want to avoid being a fad, the way Furby was probably kind of a fad and the way that fidget spinners were a fad. But a family probably has some dedicated, whether they actually realize it or not, budget for toys per year, and you need to be a part of that. Other toys don't preclude you from being purchased.
Right. So I think one of the benefits of the Woobo and what we're going to get into with this platform is that it can be part of that budget over a longer lifespan because it's smart enough to adapt to the child's growing age with new programs, new things. Like an 8-year-old isn't as excited about a magical fairyland as a 4-year-old is. And maybe there has to be some sort of action component or something that an 8-year-old would like that a 4-year-old wouldn't, that can evolve so they can kind of hyper target specific age groups and grow with the child. Obviously, there is a cutoff when you don't want a plush furry little toy anymore, but it extends the lifespan of a product because, like, if I buy Legos for 3-year-olds, right, they're the huge blocks that are like 8 pieces and you put them together and it creates something that's like interesting. But if I buy a Legos for like 14-year-olds, they are super small, super complex, 10,000 pieces, really intense, right? So over time, Lego has to sell you newer and newer products. Woobo just has to sell you newer and newer software, which has higher margin.
The software comes as part of buying the product, right? It's $149 per unit, but the software updates come for free at this point.
The Woobo created software does. I understood that there is a marketplace that they're developing, which their partners sell kind of like an app store, right? Where the Apple apps come for free. So you get your contacts app and you get your watch app and you get whatever for free. And then other people can put things on the market, whether it's 99 cents or it's $10 for a family trivia night game, or it's free for like just some intro teaser that they want to like get the kids interested in. That's how I understood the marketplace to work.
Got it. Yep. That's worth talking about. And something you just touched on that blew my mind. 50% active participation in their events that they sponsored at a very specific time with Woobo users. That's crazy high. That's crazy high. If you can incentivize user behavior, that 50% of your users are giving you attention at a very specific predefined time, there's opportunity there that I don't even know how to dig into and quantify, because attention is like the most scarce, valuable resource people have.
Yeah, it's almost like having an Alexa in your house, but instead of you only talking to it, it can also like tell you things, right? So like, hey, there's going to be this event on Tuesday night. Like Amazon Prime is launching this free movie and you guys should all check it out Tuesday, 7:00. Alexa hasn't done that yet. Amazon hasn't done that yet, but Woobo has the capacity to do that in a way that maybe other toys don't.
And I think that's part of its competitive advantage in being part of the basket size of toys, because it is naturally created to help cultivate connection between you and your family and create family time together, as opposed to the iPad, here, go over there and be quiet.
Right. I really think that family sharing aspect makes it such a powerful tool for parents because, again, going back to if I'm a parent buying this, I'm happy because it's going to help them brush their teeth and help them get to bed, and it's going to instill good habits and spark creativity, but it's also going to give us a platform to connect. So whether we're playing a Mad Libs game or whether we're playing some sort of like trivia or sing songs or whatever, it's a center console for play between parents and children, and doesn't have to happen all the time, but it's a nice thing rather than be like, hey, do you want to play Jenga again?
Yeah. And it doesn't depend on the parents to come up with that differentiated play. It's like, we're going to give it to you.
Right, exactly. And parents are tired, and there's only so many games you can come up with, and so many that you were taught by your parents. And I mean, you could probably read Pinterest for a bunch of them, but...
So we talked about Feng as a intelligent individual. Did you have any takeaways from him as a founder, as an entrepreneur that you wanted to talk about?
I guess just kind of the same general takeaway I have from academics is when you have lived in the world of academics and that's all you've known, I think it's a hard transition to go to commercial. Now, Feng is a little bit further along than Sherry from GenoPalette, who's the last person we talked to who was a pure academic before going commercial. And he has seen success to the tune of 600,000 units sold, whether it's via Kickstarter or via retail. So I'm less concerned about that. But I have a natural hesitancy with academics in their ability to be super gritty.
Yeah, I would say successful entrepreneurs that were formerly academics is not the majority of successful entrepreneurs.
Which isn't to say that they can't be.
Right.
It's just my natural connection, the narrative fallacy in my head goes immediately to that. And I didn't get anything from Feng that said, oh, he's not willing to get his hands dirty or whatever. It's just something that I maybe have a bias towards and I'm just calling out.
Something that we benefited from CES that we don't normally have. We talked to Feng. We also met some of his team and saw them working as a team at the booth and coming when we were starting the interview, taking photos. It seemed that they had a good team chemistry. It seemed that they saw and respected him as a leader and were enjoying their time there. So very small data set to deal with, but in what we could see, it seemed like he was an effective and good leader.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And their marketing was on point. From the website to anywhere it's mentioned to the booth itself, everything was put together really well. So I think that level of coordination shows either he or his team has a great capacity for coordination.
So looking forward 6 to 18 months here, Eric, what are you looking for from Woobo?
So kids are jealous little buggers, and I want to see what penetration rates look like for Woobo, because as more and more kids get Woobos, more and more parents are going to talk about their kids' Woobos and how great they are, and more kids are going to see their friends' Woobos and ask their parents for Woobos. So I want to see penetration rates on a localized level. I don't know if they have the ability to see that, but in markets where they're hot, whether it's Boston or they get a hot Fort Worth, Texas, just blows up, that's kind of what I want to see. Is I want to see some non-dispersion of Woobos, but some key areas kind of take off, because that's how I think in the toy space you're going to see a lot of growth is, wow, this got really hot in one spot and then just blew up and expanded.
Yeah, if smart and goofy always together holds true, there should be some natural virality in the product because it's highly visible if the kid's always carrying it around. And yeah, you're right. That's been the strategy of children's clothing retailers for a long time. It's let's get this on the influencer of the cool kid and see how it picks up with other kids. I'm in a similar place to you. I think you were more specific and articulate about how you're looking for that, but a shadow that I had that Feng brought up, they sold 300,000 units in 2017. They sold 300,000 units in 2018. That's not a growth trend. So, what does 2019 look like? And we can extrapolate a little bit. We can compare the first 6 months to the first 6 months of the years prior to see how that's going. But you want to see that growth, or you might be looking at a fad. And I don't think you want to be investing in what turns out to be a fad.
One thing I want to mention on that point is that if you look at just the unit sales, then it does look like a flat line. But I think if we looked at the actual revenue, it would look a little bit more upticked, because in 2017 they had a Kickstarter which raised $200,000+. And if you committed to that Kickstarter, you got either 50% off the retail price, you got a free Woobo. So I think the revenue numbers in 2017 are lower than the revenue numbers in 2018, though the same units were sold. I think their per unit price increased because of that fundraising initiative.
All right, guys. Well, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode, on Woobo, on anything you know about the children's toy market. You can tweet at us at UpsideFM or email us hello@upside.fm. And if this episode seems to be a good fit for some friends of yours who have kids, send it to them. See what they think about Woobo and give us that feedback. We'd love to hear what some parents have to say about this opportunity and this toy. Otherwise, we'll talk to you next week. That's all for this week. Thanks for listening. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's guest, so shoot us an email at hello@upside.fm or find us on Twitter at UpsideFM. We'll be back here next week at the same time talking to another founder in our quest to find upside outside of Silicon Valley. If you or someone you know would make a good guest for our show, please email us or find us on Twitter and let us know. And if you love our show, please leave us a review on iTunes. That goes a long way in helping us spread the word and continue to help bring high-quality guests to the show. Eric and I decided there were a couple things we wanted to share with you at the end of the podcast, and so here we go. Eric Hornung and Jay Klaus are the founding parties of the Upside podcast. At the time of this recording, we do not own equity or other financial interest in the companies which appear on this show. All opinions expressed by podcast participants are solely their own opinion and do not reflect the opinions of Duff & Phelps LLC and its affiliates, Unreal Collective LLC and its affiliates, or any entity which employ us. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. We have not considered your specific financial situation nor provided any investment advice on this show. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Never mind, bro, that can't be matched. I'm lighting it on fire, used to run victory laps, and still I'm not even tired. It's all about the timing, yeah, that's what they say. Well, I'ma keep on